This is Paul Newman with the Cashflow Cafe podcast. Today we have Mr. Sam Perossa on the show. Excited to have you here, Sam. In 1 minute or less, tell us all about yourself.
Well, first, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. I've thought a lot of you for a really long time, and I'm excited about today and going through this. But 1 minute or less, I'm a Christian man, husband, and father, first and foremost. I do believe that the greatest commandment, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and spirit, and treat others or love others as you love yourself. So that's how I try to live my life. I'm married to Brandy. She's my best friend. She's my rock. She is absolutely amazing. She's a much better person than I am. She elevates me.
Nice.
And I have 3 kids, Bree, Jace, and Brennan. Bree graduated from the University of Georgia, and now she's in commercial risk management. Jace is still at the University of Georgia. He's our middle child. He's a junior this year. He does have an internship, so that's great. We're excited about that. He's done really well. And Brennan is a freshman at the University of Georgia. So Brandy and I just entered the empty nest. We decided not to call it the empty nest. We decided to call it our separation season. We're separating from our past and moving toward our future. So it's been interesting, man. The last several months since we dropped Brennan off at Athens, things have really been different, but it's been really cool.
You know, I'm a person who always thinks about the future and goals and what it looks like, and our families kind of mirror each other. My oldest is Stella, and then I have Grant and Henry, and it's like, what does that look like? And then Henry's 8, so in 10 years, you know, we could be facing your exact same scenario. So that's really cool. So all 3 of them went to Georgia?
All 3, yeah.
That is really, really neat. And you are at Oconee, so what a quick back and forth. So that is really cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a 45-minute drive. We've spent more time at the lake now, of course, and we're planning on doing that as well. Just being able to be near the kids. Bree's in Atlanta, so that's a 2-hour drive, hour and a half, 2 hours. So yeah, it's all about family, man.
That's awesome. So, what's your motivation, Sam? What motivates you? What's your why?
It's helping people achieve things they themselves thought they couldn't. And I didn't realize this until probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I was just constantly working, and I was being thrust into roles of leadership at different periods in my life over and over, even sometimes when I didn't want it. So I always felt that people reacted to me for whatever reason, right? So I went through a career change back in 2019 and 2020 during COVID. And it was during that time I just learned a lot about myself, but trying to find my daily purpose. Really, what am I supposed to do here? And this is I'm 50 years old trying to figure this out. And that's the one thing that really came to the surface was I am here to help people achieve things they themselves thought they couldn't. Just working through adversity and doing those things.
I love that. And I'm a real estate agent as obviously my primary, but it's like I really have this need and want to encourage and to motivate and just inspire if I can, and I just think that's a really neat thing. Let's touch base on that, your transition period of 2019 of when you had your job career change, because a lot of people are going through, maybe it's like, man, I'm stuck in this job, or I just got laid off, or that. And what did that look like when you got into your big career change?
Well, it was 2019. It was late in 2019. COVID hadn't quite hit just yet, and my wife and I were partners in a steel company, and we had been there for over 20 years, been running the business for over 20 years, and we had a succession plan in place for about a decade. And when it came time to execute the final part of the succession plan, the owner of the business, who's my mother-in-law, she just refused to execute. So it was a gut punch. It really was. The first thing I did was, what did I do wrong?
Right.
What did I do? And there were just a lot of questions. Why? And how could this happen?
Well, your hopes and goals and a decade of your life was spent with this is the next step, and then it's like, no, that's not.
That's right. So totally taken off the table. And at that point, looking back, I say we because Brandy and I, we went through this whole thing together. We really couldn't put our finger on anything that we had done,
right?
That was, quote unquote wrong. But when we started looking deeply into ourselves and trying to figure out how to move forward, it was our faith. That's where we really needed to dig in and try to figure out, number one, why did this happen? How did we allow this to happen? And what is our path moving forward? And where are the beauty for these ashes, right? Mm-hmm. Because, that was my 25-year career. And all of a sudden it's taken away.
Right.
And at that point, we both decided we didn't want to stay in that industry, so it was a complete shift for us. So what we did is we really dug into our faith, into our relationship with God. It's just like the two of us. I've known you for a long time.
That's right.
We see each other. We have great conversation. We're sitting here today because there's trust. I trust you. You trust me. And you know that you can count on me and I can count on you.
That's right.
And there's a lot of power in that. But are we developing our relationship with our Creator? I'm not trying to turn this into a Bible study, but
I love it. Bring the pain.
this is right. The path is the pain, or pain is the path, right? The path forward. So just really digging into that relationship and trying to understand, getting into the Scripture every day, growing every single day, trying to move the needle every single day. I had gotten into lather, rinse, repeat every single day. Bid the job, execute the job, bill for the job, get paid. Bill the job, execute the job. Because we were a steel fabricator and erector, and it was just a lot of this, same stuff over and over again. A few problems here and there along the way, but for the most part, it was contract, execute, get paid, done.
Right.
Well, now we both wanted something different, and I knew I did. How could I reach more people? Because I have always felt this ability to motivate people, to inspire people to the next level kind of stuff. So how do I do that now? And the first thing was seeking a relationship with God. I knew that I needed that relationship. I needed that direction. I needed to get quiet. I needed to get still. I needed to stop. Because up to that point, and you know this, you have a young family, you're running. And
constantly.
Everything. Yes, and you're making these constant last-minute decisions and trying to balance the whole thing. Well, fortunately, I had a period where I could just stop and look at me, look at myself, look in the mirror. Am I proud of that guy? What did that guy? What is it? What is it about me that people are they gravitate toward? Also, what's polarizing about me?
Right.
So it was a period, probably 6 to 8 months of a lot of introspection. And in the middle of this, COVID happened. The entire world shut down. Brandy and I decided we were going to move forward with a franchise in Smash My Trash, a waste compaction business. But also, I opened a strategic advisory where I started coaching people. I had still have a very good friend who told me, you're a servant leader and you need to share your experiences with people, especially this experience right here of pretty much being shown the door at the business that was going to be yours. You're being shown the door now. How do you move forward? How do you do that with grace? How do you forgive people? Forgiveness is huge.
Huge.
We could talk about this for a couple hours, the whole transition, but the biggest piece of it was getting quiet, taking ownership of owning what I need to own, give the forgiveness that I need to forgive, and seeking that relationship with God. Because it's, I don't know, to me it's crazy that we don't spend more time on the things that really, truly matter. Our marriages, our children. Are they always going to be there? Not necessarily.
Right.
So we dive into our careers and, we might go on a date night every now and then, but are we really being intentional about the things that really matter? And have I found my purpose and am I executing on that? And I wasn't.
Right.
I got to tell you. So there was some disappointment for me in where I was because I knew I was sitting exactly where I had put myself.
Right.
Every decision I had made, just like you.
That's right.
You're sitting here, every decision you made has put you where you are. So how do you feel about that? And how can you improve? Will you look in them? I tell you, when I first started looking in the mirror, I just couldn't keep eye contact with that guy.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't proud of him. It's not somebody that I felt like I could follow, right? So how do I become that man? And so that's where I am now every single day.
And you dove into your faith because, we don't have all the answers.
That's right.
And so touch base on the super cool concept, Smash My Trash. You break that down because it's just a really neat business model.
It is. It was first to market, waste compaction business. We have trucks with a 3-ton drum. Basically what we do is we go to a roll-off open top dumpster that is full, and we compact that waste with our truck. We don't haul the waste away. We're not taking the waste out of the can. We're just compacting it so people can fit more in it.
Right.
So there is a cost savings component. There's also an efficiencies component because now with the constant capacity available in that dumpster, people aren't double handling their waste.
Right.
So they're saving money by reduced hauls. They're more efficient. They're not having to double handle stuff. And we reduce carbon emissions by about 70% on average.
Super cool.
So it's a win-win-win. But, when we first showed up, Paul, nobody was doing it.
Right.
And all I had was this PowerPoint on my phone. We didn't even have a truck yet when I started selling it.
Like,
I would show
you
this
should do
PowerPoint.
this.
Yeah, you should absolutely. And people loved it. But when they really got down to signing that proposal, there was, they looked at us kind of like, we had 3 eyeballs or something.
Because it's an upfront cost, and you got to realize the time and effort and energy you're saving.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we did to combat that is I set up a system, and every Monday I sit down and I go through all of our work orders from the week before. I know what my commitments to my customers are. I know that if you're hauling your can this many times a week right now, I need to get you down to this many times, or a month, right?
Right.
So I monitor those KPIs that are in place every single week. And if we're not meeting our commitments, I'm reaching out to my folks, figuring out what's going on, and I'm reaching out to the customers. So where waste has always been a pain for them, now it's something that if we can just get them involved and get them to care about for just 15 minutes, get us started, and let me report to you what's going on, I can manage your waste.
Right.
And of course, the more cans you have, the more waste you have, the more money you save.
Right.
But even that one guy that's paying for that dumpster to get hauled once a week, if he can go to once a month,
right,
and he can save $1,000 a month, that's 12 grand. So we do project cleanups where people have just messes, and we'll just sit there and continuously smash the trash in the dumpster while they continuously load it.
Right.
So it was wonderful for us because it was challenging, but it wasn't your regular standard franchise model. It wasn't, hey, come in and hang your sign and we're going to deliver everything to you and people are going to show up.
Right.
The CEO, Justin Haskin, is a very close friend. He's a wonderful man, highly competitive. I mean, he's us, right? He's one of us. Mm-hmm. Justin told us during Discovery Day, I want you to run your business. You guys have the pedigree. You've run businesses before.
Right.
I'm looking for franchisees that are going to help me develop the path to success. And so that's what we did. And there were bumps and bruises all along the way. There was adversity. I mean, it seemed constant for a little while. But once we really started gaining momentum and we got those big accounts, the big companies that really vet you and then they believe in you and you can drop those names or give that referral.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. And that's, when you start a business up, and there's a lot of people, entrepreneurs hopefully listening, but it's not always just bam, you're a success, right? No. It's grinding every single day. It's giving that high five after you land the huge account because that huge account's going to lead to 5 more accounts.
Yes.
So it's and entrepreneurship I've always been super passionate about, but it's hard. It's a hard grind, and you got to eat it, sleep it, and breathe it. And when stuff fails and stuff goes wrong, you got to own it too.
Yes.
We talked about accountability. I mean that's a big deal. You've got to own it. When something goes wrong at PMG, States Real Estate, any of the agents or any, I've got to be, no matter whether it was my fault or not, guess who's taking it? I've got to take it. And I'm fine with it because I'll go to bat for any one of anybody that works for me because I've seen something in them, and I'll go to bat for anybody,
Isn't there freedom in owning it too? Doesn't that, you get to a point where doesn't it just feel good? Yeah, to say, you know what, this is my mistake. I own it. Help me fix it.
I gave an example to you earlier. I had a customer that I just didn't get back to in a timely manner. I mean, it was literally a week, and I owned it to him and said, look, you deserve better than that. And he said, well, I decided to go with another agent. And I said, yes, I understand completely. And I said, it was completely my fault. He called me back the next week. He said, man, we had a great conversation. He said, you owned it. And he said, I still want to work with you. So I was able to salvage that relationship. I could have said, hey, man, screw you or whatever. It wasn't my fault or whatever, but that wouldn't have been right. And I still got a chance to earn his business and trust.
Sure. And you mentioned accountability. So I work with this a lot in an advisory. I have a strategic advisory where I coach CEOs. This was born
really
during
cool,
COVID.
By the way. I would love stuff like that. That's super cool.
I think you and I will end up working together in that one day.
There you go.
Yes, it's a great space, and I have a program that it's really worked. We've seen the results. As long as you're willing to do the hard work, you mentioned the hard work, but accountability. Let's say, for example, I work for you, and you came in my office this afternoon at 2:00 and said, hey, Sam, I want you to come to my office at 4:00. I want to have a conversation about accountability.
You're like, uh-oh.
And you just turn around. All of a sudden, I'm feeling threatened. I got to get my resume together. What have I done? And I'm asking all my coworkers, hey, are you meeting with Paul this afternoon? And no, it's just you, Sam. Oh, he said we're going to talk about accountability.
Sweat started.
Right. But see, why is that? There's this stigma when it comes to that word. And I've been working in and around accountability because of the way I grew up and the things that I've been through. I had to have an extremely high sense of accountability, of not just me owning my mistakes, but surrounding myself with people that were comfortable doing that as well.
Right.
Because we didn't have time to screw around when I was growing up, right? We had work to do and we had to get it done. And so when accountability is one of my core values. I have 5 core values: integrity, diligence, perseverance, humility, and accountability. And accountability is just, it's one of those things where if I'm interviewing somebody for a position and you want to come work with me, I'm going to ask you, how do you feel about accountability? And if you shrink back, if you don't know what accountability is,
right,
or you start talking around it and you don't attack accountability, you're not my guy. You're not my person. And it's sad to say, but you have to, if you're going to work with me, you need to check those 5 boxes.
I love it. And I love that you can rattle them off the way that you do.
It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I want to be. And they're my non-negotiables. I'm not willing to negotiate on them.
One of the things, and we've been friends for years, was really cool was you got involved with the Bullock Academy football program 2-3 years ago. And you said, Paul, do you mind coming to speak? I've been having some guys come in and speak and kind of get these guys fired up and get them motivated. And at the time, I mean, I haven't followed Bullock Academy football forever, but they were not a good program. I mean, in terms of just they just weren't getting it done. The year that you got involved, and it's not just you, but I'm saying that you started to shift. You started to see a shift in the Bullock Academy football culture, and I think that's one thing that you were working on. You wanted to kind of fire these guys up and say, look, let's get after it. And now. Not the year that I spoke, but the next year they won a state championship.
Sure enough.
And they lost, the year before. That was probably gut wrenching. Yeah. Your son was a senior that year?
He was a senior.
And so, but
that was quarterfinals.
The next year they finished and sealed the deal.
Yeah. Right here in Statesboro.
So it's those are the things, those are success stories that you love to see when you're trying to motivate and inspire. And sometimes you don't know your seeds when you're dropping these seeds and trying to motivate people. Maybe it doesn't happen for 2-3 years, but maybe you shifted some of the momentum on your sophomores and juniors that played the next year.
Yes. Well, Coach Phillips, he knows my younger brother. So he reached out to me and just wanted to have lunch. He knew that Ben's older brother, Sam, had an advisory where I coach CEOs, and I didn't know what he wanted to discuss. I really didn't, but we sat down. He brought one of his other coaches with him, and all he said was, I really have to shift the culture here. There's a lot of can't, C-A-N-T. There's a lot of can't in here. Mm-hmm. And he said, losing has become okay, and I don't know how to make that shift. So I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is our program. And that's where we started with kids that use the word can't a lot. I can't do that weight. I can't run that 40. I can't push through this adversity, pretty much is what you're saying, is what you're telling me. And they were allowed to quit. And it's never okay to quit. It's never okay to lose, especially when you're doing it consistently, right? So it started with Coach Phillips. He knew he had an issue. He didn't really understand the root of it, but he needed somebody to help him. And so I came in and started speaking with these kids, and which I love pouring into kids now. I do.
100%.
But the first time I came in, I said, he introduced me, and I had the whole football team in there, and I said, gentlemen, do you think you can win? And I heard a couple of, yes, sir. Real quiet, yes, sir. And I looked at Coach Phillips. I said, we got a long way to go here. So, I started getting more and more, gentlemen, do you think you can win? A certain intensity. And it went from, do you think you can win, to, gentlemen, do you know you can win?
Right. And
then it started getting louder and louder. And the whole time, this is over the course of several weeks, right before I asked you and some other guys to come in and speak, as there had to be a foundation of where we're going.
Right.
And then I shift right before you came in and spoke. Actually, I made the shift from gentlemen, do you know you can win, to gentlemen, are you going to win? And it was just a resounding yes, sir. And that is how we started every single session, turning that mindset.
Love it.
And I tell you another thing. This is in your business. It's with kids. So let's say you got a bunch of kids out there playing basketball, right? You got 5 or 6 balls out there. Everybody's doing the hook shots and the half court shots and silly stuff, right? Take all the balls off the court, divide them into teams, put one ball out there, and start keeping score. What just happened?
Competitive.
Yeah, the level of intensity just went up.
That's
Everybody
right.
Nobody's taking those crazy shots anymore, are
That's
they?
right,
They're
because they want to
calculating.
win.
They're strategic, and they want to win.
Yep.
So if we can find a way to deliver that to those kids. And I tell you, as we worked through that season with Bullock Academy, it really was amazing. When I said, guys, we're going to set our goals, they said, okay, the first goal was region championship. I said, okay, that's reasonable. What about an undefeated season? And they all just kind of looked at each other like, undefeated season? Huh. Yeah, we'll make that a goal too. I said, okay, well, how about this? What if one of our goals is going to be to finish the season with a win? And they all just kind of looked at me. I said, what does that mean, gentlemen? How do you finish the season with the win? And one of the kids said, state. I said, Isn't that the goal every year? And it was kind of a surprise. And I'm not saying anything about the previous coaches or any of that.
Right.
These kids just weren't thinking that big, and they didn't know that they could achieve that. Right? I never set foot on the field. I did lift some weights with them. I get in there and, I would get really sore and hurt myself and act like I wasn't hurt. Right?
We're getting old.
Yeah, we're getting old. But that was a great experience for me to see these kids when they were, I think it was 8-0, and Pinewood was going to be the last game of the season, and I knew this. So, and I had my whole speech for Pinewood that whole year. Right? I knew what I was going to say for that game. Yes. So at 8-0, I walked in and I said, guys, gentlemen, are you going to win? Yes, sir. What are your 5 core values? Theirs were faith, perseverance, accountability, sacrifice, and integrity. The seniors chose those core values for that group. So I had them repeat them to me. I had them define them. That's how we started every meeting. Well, then when I got in to the conversation that day, I said, how many of you gentlemen, before we played our first game, we set our goals of region, undefeated season, and win the last game. How many of you really thought you'd be sitting right here 8-0? Not one.
I bet.
I raised my hand. You guys have always had it in you.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't set foot on that field. I haven't lifted the first weight. I haven't done any of the hard work. You've done the hard work.
Right.
All we've done is we've worked right here in between the years.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are the same people you were when we started in January. Now, are you going to win? We got through that 9th week. They got the win. And then going into Pinewood, I could tell there was a heaviness in the room. I would speak on Wednesdays, and then I would speak to them before the game. Well, on Wednesday, there was just this heavy weight. It was almost like it had become a burden. Winning had become a burden for these kids. And I think it was the expectations, the fun that they were having, everybody was pouring in, the parents were excited, the stands were starting to fill up, and all of a sudden it was, God, can we do this? And so that one speech I gave before Pinewood, I wish I had that one on tape. That's one.
You nailed it.
I did. Well, I went in with an idea, right?
Yep.
And I just said, okay, I'm gonna totally just wing this thing. And man, the level of intensity came out, and those kids just, God, they amazed me. They really did.
It's just I don't know. It gives me chills because it's like that's what you want. You want to motivate people, and you motivate kids at the right age, and they get the concept in those teen years and start to really develop. These guys may take these principles for the rest of their life. I love sports, and I will always love sports because it teaches you business. It is business 101. It's winning, it's losing, it's being competitive, it's wanting to win. And if you're going to be successful in business and in life, you have to have the want. You can't. Everybody's not competitive, but if you can switch that mindset and you can kind of change up the way you see the world, it's a game changer. It's a total game changer.
Completely. Well, okay, to that point, we've all seen the reels. Tom Brady speaking to people, the will to win, the hard work, right? Do the hard work, do the hard stuff. And you can tell when he speaks, when Ed Milet speaks, all these famous guys speak, they have this intensity about them because they want to give it to you.
Yeah,
they want you to feel it. Yes. And you do too.
Oh, yeah.
Paul wants that for people.
My Instagram and Facebook reels are just motivational speakers that are just coming up and fire me. And I love to do that for people too, but it's like I people like us, like we want to be inspired and fired up too. I want it every day. Let me get fired up. Let me take on the world.
So how do you do so that's I think that's a lot of what we're talking about is we see the reels. We see the 10 or 20 second reel. And then what they're not telling us, what they're not telling everybody, really is how to get there. What are the steps to take you from where you are to where you want to be? And that's
so go over. See, and we talked about this earlier. Goals are so big. Write them down. Write your goals down. You would not believe the power of goals. I've seen it. I did some exercise a junior in high school, and it was like, write your goals down. And I set, X, Y, and Z. I was going to go to Georgia Southern, and then I was going to transfer to Georgia, and I had the Masters plan. I mean, I had it all planned. Of course, God's like, you're going to love Georgia Southern. Stay in Statesboro. But so I stayed here. But I literally to the day I said. This was when I was a junior in high school. I said, I will be running my own business. It was like a decade from, and I looked and I could flash it up here. Literally, there it was in black and white. While you will be running your own business and da-da-da-da-da. And
Yes.
I said, I'm not sure what my career will be, but I will be successful, da-da-da-da-da, and just and laid it all out.
Sure,
So
you put it out there.
And I make my children write their goals down. Write them down every year. Let's reset. What are your goals? Is it you're going to average 10 points this year? You're going to average 15 points? Grant, let's write it down. Season's about to begin. What are your goals? So he can see them. He knows it. The expectation is set.
Yeah, expectations huge. It's so big, and not just communicating your expectations, but understanding what's expected of you. So when I start working with a client, I immediately we start defining core values. Who are you? What are your non-negotiables? I told you mine: integrity, diligence, perseverance, humility, and accountability. Now I can give you the 30-second elevator on each one, or I can speak a couple hours on each one.
You're right.
Because it's who I am, it's what I focus on. Now, is it that I possess humility? No. That's something that I know I need to work on every single day. I need to move the needle every day in my integrity, my diligence, perseverance, humility, and accountability. Also, when I'm faced with very difficult times, difficult decisions, those are the boxes I have to check. When I'm making a decision, okay, I'm operating with integrity, that's fine. Diligence, I'm willing to work hard for this. Perseverance, if the wheels start to come off, am I willing to persevere through this? Humility, how can I maintain my humility through this situation, but also stay strong? In other words, humility isn't just thinking less of yourself, it's thinking more of others.
Right.
So humility doesn't mean walking into a room with your shoulders all shrunk down and, whatever, but accountability at the end of the day, am I willing to be accountable for this? Mm-hmm. And if I don't check all 5 of those boxes, it may not mean that the decision I'm about to make is wrong. I'm going about it the wrong way. Okay, it doesn't check. I'm not willing to persevere through hard times for this. It's not big enough for me. Okay, well, how can I make this bigger then?
Right.
What is it something where if there's a pain point, I'm going to push through it and I'm going to grow, because that's how we grow, is through the pain. So as long as I make sure that I'm grounding myself in my decisions, I'm making my decisions based on His will, not mine, and I'm checking those 5 boxes, I'll land on higher ground. And not just that. So when it comes to motivation versus inspiration, we spoke on this a little bit earlier. So two very, very different things, right? Motivation is the pep talk before the big game.
Temporary.
NFL guys, you see them before the game's doing this thing. Well, can't that level of intensity that those professional athletes have to maintain when guys are playing the Masters, the mental part of that game it's amazing. It's extremely difficult. So how do they maintain that? Asking somebody to maintain that mindset and that level of intensity for more than 3 hours
Can't do it.
So that's motivation. What's going to get you through those times? But what inspires you? What truly inspires you? And when we start asking those questions, when we start journaling, I journal every single day. Got to get those thoughts out. I move the needle in my faith, my family, and my fitness every day, and I journal, right? And that's where the ideas come from, when we're quiet, when we're still, and we really start thinking about where do I want to be and what do I need to do. You talk about setting goals. I would recommend the 4 disciplines of execution. Every day and twice on Sunday. It's a Covey book. It's amazing. I have installed this numerous clients. The 4 disciplines are, the first one is setting your wildly important goal. Wildly important. What's the big one?
Yep.
Right? Number 2 is setting your lead measures. Normally when we set goals, we say, okay, by the end of the first quarter, we're going to have this. Mm-hmm. Then we all work as hard as we can, and at the end of the first quarter, at the end of those 3 months, we say, oh man, we didn't make it. Or yay, we made it. Well, what's happening in between? You're losing time. Yep. So lead measures are measures that you can measure every week. We can hold people accountable. Accountability is coming. But lead measures are things that we can measure on a regular basis every week. The 3rd discipline is the scoreboard. You and I talked about the scoreboard with the kids, right? You turn a scoreboard on, game changes. So is there a scoreboard? Do your folks know what they need to be selling and how they need to be selling at what percentage? And what do the contracts look like? Do they know what they're supposed to do?
Right.
And how many it's going to take to get them where they want to be? And then the 4th discipline is establishing a cadence of accountability. And that cadence is every week. So let's say Sam's not performing one week, and you see this, okay? Chase is another one of your employees, and you're like, well, Chase, Sam needs a little bit of help, man. He's kind of struggling. He's got this stuff going on here. Can you dive in with him? Absolutely. Let's go. There's accountability now between me and Chase. We start working together. Now we're cross-training. We're working together as a team.
Right.
It's not because I'm an idiot and I just can't get it done. I may have had too much going on. I may have some stuff going on at home, right? And it's bleeding into my work. Well, that's fine. Let's help each other. Let's help each other maintain this cadence of accountability.
It's
so
teamwork. Teamwork as well.
But the goals have to be there. To your point, if you don't have goals in your life, and some advisors will tell you setting goals is silly, and it's, I don't know where that mindset comes from. You got to have goals.
And you talked about, it's interesting, you broke down motivation and what inspires you, and I watch motivational stuff probably every day until I die, just because I like the short bursts of energy and somebody else. I love to see winners win. Love it. I want to root on every one of my friends. I hope a friend calls me and says, Paul, I want you to brag to me. I mean,
yes.
There's some of these people out there. It's like, oh, he's full of crap, but I don't care. I want to see. I want to see my buddies win, and I don't think that's everybody, but I love to see. I love to see them win. I want to be the first to congratulate you and tell you good job. But the inspiration side of things for me, it is. I want my kids to be extremely proud of their father. I don't want my kids to ever hear a story, go, Dad cut this corner, Dad screwed this guy over, Dad was unfaithful to your mom.
Right.
Never want those stories. And I think that today in our lives we have to tell each other. You have to pump each other up and you don't have to tell all your buddies your goals or what inspires you, but I think you almost tell yourself these goals, right? So these are like, when I want to, my kids, when they're 25, to go, dang, Dad kicked some ass.
Yeah.
Dad was on his A game, because hopefully they'll do the same thing for their family and let it roll.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard work. So inspiration is, it's the thing that sticks, right? And so a lot of folks will say my why is my family. And that's a great place to start. It is, because these are the people that you've committed to. We've seen the way our parents did. We've seen the way other parents did. We take the good, we take the bad, and we do. My inspiration is, at the end of the day, that I'm standing in front of my Father, and He says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." That's my why. That's why I don't hit snooze. I got to get my day going. I got to get it rolling. And
they got to see your relationship with Christ. They have to see that too, because if I'll never forget, Brandon Williams said this at a sermon, and he said, I can go to heaven and I can get all you guys into heaven, but if my own children don't have a relationship with the Father, then I failed. Right. That'll cut you deep.
Yeah.
And so they've got to see you have that relationship, and hopefully God will find their way to them as well.
Yeah, and another thing, you're a lake guy. You like getting out on the lake, and it's our favorite place. It's where we find peace. We've had a wake boat now probably for, better part of 15 years.
My kids are on me to get that.
Well,
I'm a pontoon guy right now, but my kids are like, Dad, please get the wake boat. I'm like, okay, but it's expensive. It is not cheap.
No, we're gonna sidebar. I got a guy.
You got a guy. It's always, hey, I got a guy. You're in the waste management business. Forget about it. I got a guy. Hilarious. Sopranos, best show of all time.
Yes, good plug. Now but it's a lot of work. Even with the pontoon, you got gas, you got coolers, you got to get there to begin with. Everything's packed up, then you unpack, and so there's a lot of effort and a lot of money that's going into this. But what we started realizing very quickly is, most weekends it was Brandy and myself and about 8 or 10, 12 kids, and
I'm gonna stop you for 2 seconds.
Go.
That, to me, is such a cool thing. I would love for my kids and their friends to be out there having fun away from their damn phones. Well, they're probably videoing somebody surfing, but other than that, you're out in nature, you're out experiencing. It's a God thing too, to be out there on the water, and something about seeing the water and just being outside is just feels right.
It's huge. It's vitamin D. Right, let's go basic. It's getting out. It's vitamin D. It's fresh air, and it is, when you look around. It's a whole new level of faith.
And then you can minister to those kids, like you said. Kids are coming over, and maybe you're ministering to them, and they're seeing how you guys live, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and you get them behind that boat, a kid that's never surfed, never wakeboarded, never skied, never did anything, and we've been doing this for so long. And this is not me being arrogant at all. With humility, I say we're really good at this. Okay,
there you
teaching kids and adults.
Yeah, may have to teach me.
No, come on. I got something I can work with you. No, we're going to have you jumping wake and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. God. But the look in those kids' eyes when they get up that first time.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost, sometimes it's a look of disbelief that they actually are. Yeah, it's surprise. And then you get them in a good position, and get them, and then all of a sudden they're surfing, and then their eyes get big again. See, that feeds me. That inspires me. When I'm speaking with clients, I never do the phone. I always do video, because I want to see your reaction. I want to see what's going on, and I make sure that the folks I work with own their wins. Right? Let's own our wins. And the guys that work with me in different businesses, I want to make sure that we celebrate those wins. And there's a degree of transparency. If you want to inspire people and you think all you got to do is tell them when we're having record months and when we're doing great and this person did that and this person did this, and that's great. But what about those bad months? Do you share that information too?
That's right.
You got to. It has to be there.
Well, it's not all wins, and it's just like sports. You can be as good as you want to be, but them L's are coming.
Yeah, and if people,
how do you react to the L's?
How do you react to the L's?
And that's when you grow the most. What we talked about, it's just you learn, and if you're going to be in business and you're going to be successful, sometimes you have to dive right into the business and say, look, I tried this marketing company, but I failed. That's a plug for you, Chase. But it is sometimes literally going, I don't know how this is going to look, but guess what? You're going to learn. I didn't do this right. I didn't do X, Y, and Z right, or I didn't put my heart into it, or maybe the economy failed. I mean, the restaurant business, that is such a hard business, and shout out to anybody that's in it, because it is, you earn it, and so many of the times fails. And how are you learning from the failures? Because I don't know the study, 7 of 10 small businesses will fail.
Absolutely.
Something like that. I don't know the exact number, but how do you learn from the fails? And are you going to go back at it and learn?
Yeah. It's a constant. And I'm not even going to say lather, rinse, repeat, but adversity is such a big deal right now. And a lot of the folks I work with are saying that this young, it's always the younger generation's horrible, right? We were the best and everybody else stinks, right? I mean, but right now I'm
in the Goonies generation, I just found out. That's called the Goonies generation. Something about 75 to 84 is the Goonies generation. I'll take it. I don't mind the Goonies. It's a good little movie.
It's a great movie. But now, adversity is this thing that is avoided. And I think, some of it is the helicoptering that goes on. Parents think that they have to solve problems for their kids, and kids bail on difficult situations.
We got to let our kids fight their own battles.
Got to.
100%.
Now, there are times when they need some
advice.
That's it.
But you can't go in there and tackle their problem. They've got to face it.
Right.
Talk about the buffalo. Give that example. The buffalo example is awesome. Go with that.
Yeah, this is great. I saw this years ago somewhere, and it struck a chord with me. So the buffalo is an extremely. Let me start that again. The buffalo is an extremely instinctive animal. Okay, so most animals out in the wild, when there's a storm coming, rain, whatever kind of storm's coming in, most animals, cattle, they'll herd up. They get in a big herd. Other animals go to their nest and they hide, right? They're hiding out the storm. So the storm comes in and pretty much just beats them and has their way with them, with those animals, and then it leaves. The buffalo instinctively charges the storm. They don't go around the storm, they're going straight through it, because they know on the other side of that storm are freshly watered, sunny pastures. So you're going to take a beating. Yes, you are.
Yep.
You're going to experience the pain, but pain is the path. That's where we see growth. And if you're comfortable in your everyday life right now, I see people, Paul, and it's not mind-numbing, but it's disappointing sometimes when people achieve these big goals that they want for their life, and they get there and they stop.
Yeah, complacent, because they hit whatever milestone. Why not keep setting it? Why not reset? Why not re-challenge yourself? Right.
Because when you reset, when you re-challenge, there's a whole nother chapter to that book. There's a whole nother way that you can experience where you can mentor somebody. And it's not about your W-2. It's not about your bank account.
Right.
It's about, are you achieving the things that you want to achieve in this life? And I think if you sat 20 people in a room, I think 17 out of 20 would say, no, I'm not.
Right.
Well, let's figure that out then.
How can we motivate you? How can we get you going? You talked about the buffalo, and that struck a nerve with me, because it's just, to me, it screams take action. So the buffalo is taking action, and these problems hit our doorstep, and everybody handles problems in different ways. And for me, taking action is paramount. It is. I've had coworkers that will sit on a problem for a week, and guess what? That problem only gets worse.
Yes.
You have got to go. Why not go ahead and face it?
Yeah.
Good, bad, and different. Go ahead and get to the outcome, because 9 times out of 10, not that big a deal. But your mind tells you, oh God. So attack the problem. Attack.
Yeah, always. Yes. And let's say this too. Okay, going back to the faith theme. When you're doing good things, when people really are feeling who you are and you're making some progress, that's when evil shows up.
Oh, yeah. As soon as you get to the top, he's coming.
He's coming, and he's coming hard, because now all of a sudden everyone knows who Paul Newman is.
Target.
You're a target,
Yeah.
and your fall would be a whole lot worse than somebody else who nobody knows.
And everybody and the haters want to see you fall as well.
Yes, they do. It's true.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No doubt.
It
Makes them feel better.
It does. Yeah. So
it's weird, this life, that some of the people you should root your friends on. Why?
Yes.
Just because so-and-so has X, great. That means they probably worked their ass off.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's not handed to you, you know? So give a shout out, because this life's hard enough. Why tear down?
Yeah.
We got to lift up.
We got to lift each other up. And, the successes that you have, that's all that people see. They haven't seen your hard times. They haven't seen when
they haven't seen
were
you clipping coupons and driving my grandmother's '92 Accord. You know, because it was paid off, and I didn't want a car payment. You know, it's nobody just gets to the top. Mm-mm. There is work, there's winning, there's losing, there's long nights, all of that.
Yes,
but that's part of it, man. That's part of the fun of what this life has to offer.
It really is. So it's mindset. How are you attacking? Now, I tell you, I have seen and helped some friends through some horrible situations. Friends have lost kids. Friends have lost careers, right? Lost their jobs, lost their family. As far as people that lose children, there's nothing you can really say in that kind of say. That's the worst pain there is. But any other adversity that you're going through, it does feel like the end of the world. And
when you're in it, especially.
When you're in it, sure does. So how do you, at what point do you flip that switch and you say, no more?
Right.
I'm not going to sit in this anymore.
Right.
I'm going to get up. I'm going to power through. You got single moms that have 3 kids that are working 4 jobs. I mean, they don't even have time to sit there and think, let alone speak. So how do you get across to those folks that what you're doing matters? And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. It's gratitude. It's having those people around you to support you. When that whole thing happened with Ogeechee Steel, I'm a private person. Brandy and I are both very private people, but there are some folks that we immediately went to and we sought counsel. Right. And it's not because I wanted somebody to feel sorry for me. I wanted to understand.
That's right.
And a lot of folks, what they had to say was, hey, you did great while you were there. There were some good things that happened. There were some bad things, and now it's time for you to move on. It really was that simple.
Yeah.
I was complicating it.
That's right.
So it was about.
Well, and God gave you that situation, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like, and that comes back to faith. Like, we get these roadblocks in our life, and you ask God why, right? But you haven't prayed and got through the situation. You haven't seen what's on the other side. Now you pivoted to smash my trash, and here we are. It's killing the game. So
yeah, I mean, helping the people out, saving money, doing that, the advisory. Both of these businesses have exponentially expanded my reach and Brandy's, our reach, as far as being able to serve other people.
And that's one of the life's, most persistent and urgent questions. What are you doing for others? That's a Martin Luther King.
Yes.
What are we doing for others?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to help. I want to motivate. I want to inspire. So, Sam, it's a couple more questions. We're gonna get you out of here. But you and I feel like we could probably have a 3-hour podcast.
Probably.
But how do you like your coffee, Sam? Are you a coffee guy? Black.
I am. I'll put honey in it every now and then. There's some local honey.
I've been hearing about the. I haven't. I'm a black coffee guy too. But I've heard throwing a little local honey in there. Franklin's got some, right?
Yes.
There it is. I figured you're gonna go there.
Oh, it's great, man. It is. Put a little bit of honey in there. I'll drink tea every now and then.
Do you eat breakfast?
I usually don't have anything until mid-morning. I'm up between 5:30 and 5:45.
5:30 is my clock pretty much every day.
Boom.
Yeah.
And so you get started. I have my devotion time, my quiet time with God. I do devotion with Brandy. We do a devotion together every morning, and then it's time for a workout. And after that, it's time to feed the protein. So I usually, by the time I hit the ground, it's a little bit later, but I do eat breakfast. And usually it's, I'll have avocado toast, or I'll have 6 or 8 egg whites and a
Being
piece
healthy
of
is
sourdough.
important to you.
Very much
Very
so.
important, yeah. And I gravitate towards that too. I don't always make the right choices, but we're more educated now. You'd be living under a rock if you don't know the good things for your body, and some of that's what drags people down is not putting in the right things in their body. And so I'm a big coffee drinker. I kind of do this hybrid intermittent fasting where sometimes I'll pretty much get all the way to about 12, eat 12 and 6. Nothing after that, drink coffee in the morning, repeat, and kind of just try to do a salad for lunch. And then, that way dinner's kind of whatever. Sure. But you're going to feel better if you eat right.
Absolutely.
And coffee, I'm not sure I could live without that.
No. We'll get in the car and drive if the coffee machine is broken that morning. Absolutely.
If you had an extra 100 laying around under the mattress, how would you invest that 100? What would you think? What would you want to do with that 100?
Well, there was some news about crypto this past weekend.
I keep wanting to. I've been thinking about it, but I haven't pulled the trigger. I'm scared of the crypto. When I do, I'm going to try to go for the gusto and get the Bitcoin because they say that's the one. Which that's expensive though. That is an extra 100 laying around. That's exactly what 100 is. Yes. Bitcoin's like 90 or something like that. So very expensive.
Right now, a lot of private equity money is still off the table. People want to see what's going to happen. The first 6 months of this administration, and I know we're not going to get into politics, but I kind of figured out a lot of people did this first 6 months. There are going to be some dramatic shifts, and there's uncertainty, not in a bad way,
right?
But I don't know that the market's really going to move. I don't know you're going to see any IPOs coming out. But a group that I invest with, we do some small things together. We got in with Bitcoin early, and it did us really right.
Awesome.
But there are so many different cryptos there are, and you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin now. You can buy $100.
Partials. There you go. Well, that's good for the average listener who doesn't have the 100 laying around. That's Chase again. Chase, hit it up.
But I do like the crypto right now.
That would be a good space to get into, and I hope I feel like real estate, I just know it, right? Sometimes just sticking to what you know is really good, and real estate is just such a safe play. But Bitcoin is definitely intriguing. Maybe we watch this podcast and it's a million one day instead of 100,000. Could be.
Yeah.
What's your number one time waster, Sam? What do you? Because I feel like you're energetic, you're motivated, dude. What are you wasting time on? What do you wish you could kind of get back that you kind of waste on?
Personally, professionally, both.
Either one,
doesn't
whatever
matter. Every Sunday during football season, we go to church. We go to lunch and we go back to our house and literally hold the sofa down for the rest of the day.
That's a good lazy day. It is.
It's consistent.
Yes, it is.
It's the whole family too.
Is it fantasy football with your crew, or is it just watching?
No.
What's your team? Are you Falcons?
Steelers.
I forgot Steelers. That's right.
Pittsburgh.
You're a blue collar guy. I knew it, man.
Right.
I knew I liked you. Yeah. So I'm a Dolphins fan, and unfortunately, the Dolphins have had not anything to write about since the 70s. I was not born in the 70s, so that's been a very lonely road being a Dolphins fan. I do love Dan Marino, but he never could win the big game either. But your Steelers got it done. They had the steel curtain. They had Bradshaw got it done. Big Ben got it done.
Big Ben.
And who else did? Who else? Let's see. Big Ben.
We lived through the Cordell Stewart years, and then we had Big Ben.
And I do like Tomlin. I know you Steeler fans are probably sick of him, but Tomlin is a class act. He's a class act.
I think
he's tough.
Yes.
And it's tough to win. It is tough to be the last team to win. And unfortunately, there's only a couple Tom Brady's and Patrick Mahomes out there.
That's it.
So if you're not them, then your team and your fan base is upset with you.
Yeah. No, Tomlin, he's great. I love him, and I hope he continues to stay there. He is a player's coach. And he doesn't BS around. He calls it like it is.
Yeah.
I think he's fair. He's putting the right people on the field.
I like him. He's probably my favorite. If I had to pick a coach, he's probably my favorite one of all the coaches. And big shout out Jalen Hurts, a man of Christian faith and perseverance. I mean, if you ever follow his story with Bama and some of the adversity he faced with Tua jumping over him and having to transfer and those things, and just and kudos to Jalen Hurts for keeping the faith and winning with class and humility and all those things.
Well, he's interesting that you mentioned him, because no matter where he's gone, we've seen the videos of him in the weight room. No matter where he's gone, he has led by example.
Pushing, he's a pusher.
He is.
People and he's humble.
Around him, he's humble about it.
Yeah, he's a class act for sure. Very cool to watch.
Everybody around him wants to be better.
Yep.
Well, and that's how you win, man. It is so hard to win at that level. But
Oh,
to
yeah.
do it consistently and to win a Super Bowl,
And the one he lost 2 years before, if you go back and look at the game, he made one mistake the whole game. They barely lost. Of course, Mahomes played perfectly too. But like if you read Hurt stats from that game, you'd have been like, oh, guaranteed they won. If you didn't know the other team what they scored, he won it.
He won it.
So. Anyhow, sports, faith, football, finances, the whole thing. Enjoyed it. Let's do it again soon, Sam. I appreciate you coming on.
I love it. I'm here, man. Whenever you'd like, I'd love to sit down again.
Yes, sir.
Take care, man.